happy to bring in Gerlinde Groitl, Assistant Professor of International Politics and Transatlantic Relations from the University of Regensburg. Good morning to you, Gerlinde. Let's just start talking about what happens after Sunday's federal election, because it is probably going to take several weeks, possibly even months, for a functioning coalition to exist. It is also very likely that the Greens Party will be a part of that coalition. My question to you is actually about the FDP, the Liberals, because it seems as though they are also going to play a major role in determining who is going to be leading the next government. What would you say is their incentive to work with SPD at this point?
Well, first of all, the interesting story about this election is how unpredictable it has been over recent weeks to determine who will lead the country after the election. And the FDP really wants to be in a coalition government, but they have really various bridges or gaps to bridge with the Social Democrats. They are far apart in terms of tax policy, social policy, etc. And we have really a couple of coalitions options on the table, probably beginning next Sunday. So there will be tough negotiations amongst various partners, various parties, which will certainly drag on for a while. And it will take, as you mentioned, quite some time to have a new functioning government in place.
One other alternative that markets are keenly watching, because it would be a complete break of what we've known in Germany over the last 20 years, would be a Green-Red-Red coalition. So that would be the Greens with SPD, but then the far-left party. What is the probability of that occurring in your view? And do you see there being an incentive on the SPD's part to go down that direction?
That's really a tough question. The Social Democrats have moved quite to the left, especially in the party leadership. Well, curiously, Olaf Schultz, the candidate for the chancellorship, he is a conservative person from the Social Democrats. So there have been ideas floating around that the Social Democrats could pursue a coalition with the Greens and the left. And it would be a precedent case because so far, parties had always declined to even consider going with the left at the federal level because of their views on foreign policy mostly. The left wants to get out of NATO, for example, which is a view that is not shared by any of the other parties in the German system. So there are really gaps to bridge once again. SPD, Social Democrats, some of them favor this line because there are commonalities in social policy, but there are others who are very concerned, and the country as a whole certainly would not cherish this option, I believe.
I want to ask about Olaf Schultz and the potential impact of the questioning from German lawmakers. Today, German lawmakers are going to be asking Finance Minister Olaf Schultz about the investigation into an anti-money laundering agency that was overseen by his ministry. Obviously, it hasn't had a big impact on his popularity thus far. Do you think that it could have an impact between now and the 26th?
Well, it really depends how the debates play out over the course of this week. But the issue that is at stake, charges that suspected money laundering cases were not pursued as they should have been. All in all, it's a very complicated story that doesn't boil down to a one-liner so easily. So critics essentially say that Olaf Schultz has failed in management, that he's not so credible, so reliable as he presents himself to be. And this really comes into play when the probability or the likelihood of a red-green-red government comes into play. Armin Laschet and other figures from the Christian Democrats, they say, yes, Olaf Schultz may be a nice person. He may present himself as solid, but he may be not in charge when it comes to such a government, as he's not even been able to keep control of his own finance ministry.